morning, everyone. Welcome to Voices at Davos at SandboxAQ and Promenade. With us today, we have Alvin Graylin. Thanks to you for being here.
No, thanks for inviting me, Yuval.
So, as we just talked, you have sort of decades of experience of AI. And as we walk the promenade, you see AI is everywhere. You've got a sense of quantum as well. So for those that don't know you, and you've been involved in a lot of stuff, in teachings, you wrote a book, you talked a lot about AI. So tell us, there you go. So tell us a little bit about you, your career, your background.
So I've been in the tech industry my entire life, but in the, I guess, early 90s, I was in semiconductors. I helped Intel and IBM build out the early chips, the PowerPC, and then some of the early instruction sets for Intel doing what became the GPU. I later went on and helped Intel start up their first offices in China. And ran their consumer business, grew it from $0 to $300 million in a few years. Came back and then helped start up their Intel Online Services, which became essentially the hyperscaler at that time, back in '99.
Yeah.
And I founded 4 different companies. I actually started the first natural language search company in China in 2005.
Okay.
Which was doing what ChatGPT is doing today, but we were doing 20 years ago with different technology, of course.
Yeah.
But it's essentially the dream of what we had wanted to do is what's happening today. So I've been thinking about these issues for some time. In the last 7-8 years, I've been actually working in the virtual reality space, helping drive HTC's VR and AR business. So at one point, we were the largest VR company in the world. That's changed a little bit.
Yeah.
But so now I'm actually moved into academia. So I'm teaching at MIT and doing research at Stanford. And actually this year I'll start doing teaching on AI policy at the University of Washington.
So amazing. So you've went through multiple sort of cycle of growth and decline. You've done hardware, you've done software, you've worked in China, you worked in the US. So basically you've covered all the key bases that everybody's talking about over here in terms of what can we do with AI and the future of it. So
yes, actually there was one part I missed, is that in between I spent 4 years in Taiwan working on cybersecurity. So right after 9/11, and one of my companies crashed because the entire industry went away. I went to Taiwan and helped run Trend Micro's first enterprise and then their consumer business. So, so understanding how this technology could be used in cybersecurity and the asymmetric nature of AI and cybersecurity is actually very aligned. Because bad actors can use AI to do a lot of things if improperly used. And these things are getting so powerful today, right? And you can see over the last month or so what's happening with cloud code.
Yeah.
And the type of things people can make with zero intervention, essentially. Where you put in prompts and maybe there's some light back and forth, but in a matter of hours or at most days, you can create things that used to take months or sometimes years, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fascinating. And we've seen through sort of history, any sort of new technology that comes in can be sort of abused and misused.
Yes.
And you talked about sort of the fact that unintentional sort of consequences. But when you have this ultimate type of technology, then a misuse of that could have consequential...
Yes, so well, this is why I feel like we're really heading the wrong way with how the industry and the government regulatory bodies are looking at this issue, is that they are actually creating a lot of dark spaces for bad actors to hide. And so we really should be treating AI from a threat perspective like essentially terrorist threat or cybersecurity hacker attacks. Because when something works, it will be used around the world.
Yeah.
And right now, we really don't have that communication channels as we should.
Yeah, so in a capitalist system where everybody's competing with one another, how can we make that work? And also there's the great divide between the US and China.
Yes, and this is one of the biggest issues today, is that there's this created narrative of AG or AI or AGI race between US and China, but it's actually a false narrative. And I've talked to people on both sides of the ocean, and they're actually trying to get to different places. the people in China, the government leader in China, their focus is what they call the AI plus plan, right? Essentially, over 5-10 years, they want to get AI into all parts of industry, you know, some medical to education, manufacturing, whatever, and to use that to improve productivity, efficiency, increase economic growth, because that's their focus.
Okay.
You know, whereas in China, in the U.S., it's really all focused on who's first to get to AGI. And when you do that, then you do throw away the guardrails. Then you do stop communicating. Then you stop sharing data. You stop sharing training information. You stop sharing ways to optimize, right? And you actually stop sharing benefits to the world. And this is something that this is why I'm here actually, is because I want to help people understand that it's actually to your own benefit and the world's benefit to see AI as a public good, to see AI as something that we should build together. And by doing so, we extremely reduce the strain on compute. We don't even need to build new data centers. We just need to link them together, right? And share the resource, because we already have thousands. I mean, the US has 5,000 data centers today. China has 500, and like India has 100 something. There's already a lot out there. And it's already, a lot of talk about energy strains and so forth. So this, by doing this, we solve almost every problem that we have. We solve the lack of chips. We solve the lack of energy, lack of memory, lack of talent, and we solve the security problem that you just talked about. But it's the fact that we can work together. We see the value of community. We can build tools, and we share the benefits of those tools with each other, right? So if we go back to really human nature, the human nature should be about helping each other. If we challenge the lab leaders and the world leaders to say, who did the most good this year, in the next 5 years? How can you work together to do more good? Then I think the picture changes, because the incentive changes. Right now, the incentives is forcing us to do the things that we're talking about today.
So sometimes you need a common enemy or a common issue to unite and rally against.
Exactly. So it should be a common enemy of humanity, not a common enemy of a nation, right? And that's the thing that the leaders today need to change their perspective on. And I feel like that voice is missing. And even if you look at the talks in the last few days, it's still nation versus nation, and it's still lab versus lab. And I feel like we need to uplift that conversation.
Yeah, fantastic. Listen, this has been a fascinating conversation. I know you have sort of to run. We could have gone for way longer, but I look forward to sort of chatting with you again. And thank you again for coming to Sandbox.
I'm glad we got to meet, and we'll need to do this again in a deeper way.
Yeah,
so
fantastic.
Thank you, Yuval.
Thank you.